Hello and welcome to the 19th round of the 2016 PCC Cup Series here at the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Starting on the pole is John Jefferson for the first time in 12 years. Mark Bird on his outside there in the 566 car. What an unusual front row we have here today. Going back through the field, see Team Ben Atkins locks out row 3 and has a car in row 4, so they'll be contenders early on today, it looks like. Israel Bruce there in row 4. Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer has a good qualifying effort. Alina Lazareva there. Louis Ballard, Alex Phillips. Now, Andy Lambert in row 7 started in the PCC truck race. Good battle for the lead early on in that one, but we had a 3-car incident with Matthias Leskinen that involved all 3 of the leaders. They'd all get going without an issue. Will Crawford dominated this race early on, but under a late caution came into pit. He wouldn't have made the distance on fuel. That gave the lead to Chris Washer, who got passed by Lucas Davidson late in the going, and Davidson would pull some pit strategy and win his first ever PCC Trucks race. That team was in trouble. Justin King won the pole for the Lights race at IRP, and he was involved in an incident where he got stuck on the wall. They'd get him off that wall and he'd get going. Barry Juveno had a very strong run, quite unlike his PCC Cup efforts this season. And he would unfortunately get passed late in the going by Greg Maddox, who would finally pull it off. He finished second in the PCC Cup Series multiple times in the past few years, but he finally gets one in the PCC Lights Series. And with that, John Jefferson is going to lead the field to the green flag at Indianapolis. Jefferson coming onto the backstretch, moves high. Looks like Tom Wilson's going to take a peek to the inside. He might make a move here. Going into turn number 3, Tom Wilson pulls alongside, and Tom Wilson's going to take the lead going into turn number 3 there on the bottom. John Jefferson stuck on the high side. He is going to be hung out to dry, but Tom Wilson, the youngster from Bakersfield, California, is going to take the lead coming out of turn number 4, and he will lead the first lap of the round of Indiana in front of a very joyous crowd here today. A full house, I might add. Looks like Ramsey Cockener's off the pace. That's a bit unsurprising for that team. They haven't been good on super speedways at all this year. As your points leader, Ike Durbin, the hometown kid, running up in the top 10 right now, having a fantastic run so far. He's up in 6th place, and this is going to do his championship run a great deal here, as he hopes to win in front of his home crowd, running right behind his teammate Louis Ballard. John Jefferson stuck on the outside once again. First pole in 12 years, as I mentioned before. This is a fantastic showing for Jefferson, who I think a lot of people had written off for dead, but he's going to hold off James Hewitt and hang on to second position there in what's been Steffens Racing's best showing so far this season, with John Jefferson up at the front of the field, contending early on. Here's Gareth Hunt, who you might have noticed on the entry list. This is his first start. He brought some money on board to the Matthews Motorsports team, and much like his sponsor Moneytron, he has predicted the outcome of this race, and he predicted a cool 27th place finish for him, and one big wreck, so we'll see if that actually comes true. Gareth Hunt has been running near the back of the field. Here is Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer, who after the series left North America has been in free fall in the standings. He's currently running up in the top 10 right now. He just got passed for 7th, but it looks like a good return to form for Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer. This team actually was announced that they're going to be up for sale. Clayson Enterprises is leaving the PCC Cup Series, and hopefully Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer can find himself a ride somewhere at the end of the year when this team closes shop. As John Jefferson going to make a move for the lead here on Wilson at the front of the field. Doesn't look like he has the momentum, as the draft package with these cars, it's hard to make a move. You have to time it just right, and Jefferson looks like his rhythm was broken there, and Wilson's going to pull away just a bit. Brian Gallagher, he started back in 30th place. He hit the wall on his qualifying lap. He's already up to 18th by lap 7, so this car is an absolute rocket ship. He led both practice sessions and happy hour. Just had some bad luck in qualifying, but he's been cutting through the field like he's the star of a bad racing movie. He's about to gain 2 more positions there with Barbara Burt and Israel Bruce right in front of him. Here's Clay Gibson, who you might remember being in the 52 in the European Tour and at Road Atlanta for Paloma Autosport. He's now in the 77 car. Kyuga Hakai was sacked from that team after they returned from Europe. So it looks like this team is actually still vested in maintaining their spot in the series for whoever buys them out. They fell down to 12th after a miserable round of France, and Clay Gibson hasn't been doing that great here today. Looks like John Jefferson's going to get pushed to the high side there. Louis Ballard making a move on the inside with help from the hometown hero Ike Durbin there. From nearby Gas City, Indiana. He's doing a fantastic job, and the hometown crowd's going to start going wild here if he makes a move around Louis Ballard for second place, because they know what's coming after that, as John Jefferson gets pushed to the high side, and he's going to lose a few more positions. Here's Cale Bernhardt Jr. running back in the field. Oh, that's some contact between him and Ryan Matthews. Oh dear, that's some big contact. So Cale Bernhardt Jr. holds on to the position, but almost had a pretty big wreck there, as Preston Bell's doing pretty well here. Oh, that's some more contact with Barbara Burt. He's going to hang on to that car. He almost wrecked there, and we're going to go 4 wide coming out of turn number 4, and they're going to hang on to it. Oh, that's some contact between Lazareva and Israel Bruce there. Oh, we're banging doors already. Preston Bell, surprised he was able to make that work. Here's Kelly Blackwater running in 26th place. She is back from an injury that she sustained in the round of Russia. Franz Bergman did an excellent job subbing for her in the 3 races that she was out, but she's back to finish the rest of the season, currently in 26th place, and you can see how the back of the field is already starting to spread out. Here is Cameron Taylor, who after getting left out of the silly season and getting a ride in sports cars to start the year, is back in the 39 car, subbing for Nicolas Corredovos, who after that hideous accident in the round of France, was cast down to hell and is being recruited by Satan himself to do battle with Ben Atkins in the Cleveland Grand Prix. You'd think Satan would be able to get better personnel down there than Nicolas Corredovos, but alas, Cameron Taylor's having an excellent run today, up in the top 10. Here is, oh, that's Ramsey Cockner. Oh, he nearly just wrecked Tom Wilson. This is lap 14, and that just tells you how slow that Cockner has been. Fortunately, he's being a somewhat gracious backmarker and staying out of the way, but this car is way, way off the pace. As Greg Woodard working his way up through the field. He's in 32nd place. He has a new sponsor on this car. His original sponsor at the start of the season bolted after the round of France, and he is now self-funding this team with his own trucking company. That's not good if you can't attract your own sponsorship and have to resort to family funds, but he's soldiering on. Oh, looks like we've got a battle for the lead now. Tom Wilson under attack from Ike Durbin. Durbin going to try and make a move for the lead here, but they have separated themselves from the rest of the field. Ben Atkins back there in 3rd place. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to close the gap, but Tom Wilson from California and Ike Durbin from Indiana doing battle at the front of the field. This is going to get good, and the crowd is excited. Mark Burt having a good run here today. He is running back in 5th place. He started on the outside pole. That's his best qualifying effort of the season. Still no word on what's going to happen with this team. All signs point to it being shut down, as Toyota is going to pull support from this team. They're going to be supporting ROG Motorsports only next season in the Cup Series, and there's no indication. We haven't heard any word from this team about if they're going to be continuing on next year. I think this team might go up for sale as well, along with Clayson Enterprises, who already announced their sale is imminent. Now here's Brian Gallagher, who has entered the lead pack. Just it only took him about 20 laps to get up to the front of the field. He just made his way up into the top 10, and that looks like that's Cameron Taylor who is getting ready to pass. So an exceptional amount of speed out of this 49 car. We haven't seen speed like this out of anyone so far here today. As here's Barry Juvenile, who had an excellent run in the PCC Lights race at IRP just yesterday. He's having a pretty good run here today. He's in 21st place, which by his standards this season is pretty good. He's been doing battle with Frank Azaretto and Kyle McWalla. He's going to get passed there by the 52 car. But looks like Juveno is going to try and fight back on the outside. His seat is red hot, as Ben Atkins has caught up to the top 2, and he's going to try and make a move around Ike Durbin. But again, you have to time your passes here. Durbin's going to peak low. I don't think he's going to be able to make that work, but Ben Atkins doing all he can. He's suddenly become a championship contender, and he's up in the top 5 in points. That's one of his points rivals right in front of him. Oh, he makes a move on the inside. That's not going to work out. You need a lot more timing than that. Better timing than that, but Atkins is going to settle into third right behind the 31 in the 2 car. Here's Gaspar de Souza, who's down in 26th place. Quite unusual for one of the championship contenders. He's, I believe, 3rd or 4th in points coming into this race. To have it run this poor, but de Souza just never got a handle on the setup, and he's been mired back in the field doing battle with Scott Willen. There goes Ben Atkins making a move to the inside, and he's going to take 2nd position away from Ike Durbin. Durbin gets shoved to the high side, still side by side. Durbin's going to fight back, try to make it work on the outside, but they're going to lose quite a bit of ground. You can't go side by side and maintain all your momentum. And he's going to get some help on the inside from James Hewitt, his teammate, and Atkins to 2nd place, as now Tom Wilson has pulled out a pretty big gap. Don't know if he's going to be able to hold that with Ben Atkins right behind him in 2nd place. Chris Benson is back in the 20 car. He is the best running of the Matthews Motorsports team cars, and he's got a deal to run most of the rest of the year with this team. Carter Fitzgerald is going to be in this car for the next race at Cape Cod, but Chris Benson been bouncing around between rides all season, found a pretty steady lights ride with AJ Murphy, but back once again in the Cup Series and running up in 32nd place. Oh, Scott Willen's got some issues. That car is done. Engine issues are going to take Scott Willen out of this race, and such an unfortunate break, because he had been performing much above his level in the European races, and to return to the States and have this to happen is just unfortunate. As, oh, here we go. Brian Gallagher has worked his way through the pack. He just got around Ike Durbin, and now he's up to 3rd place. Going to use the lap car here to try to get around Ben Atkins. That's Ramsey Cochran going a 2nd lap down already, as Gallagher is absolutely flying. Cale Bernhardt Jr. makes an unscheduled pit stop early on, and has to change a tire. Oh no, that isn't unscheduled. That's just a little bit early, as looks like Alina Lazareva is going to roll the dice and pit early as well. Lazareva was running up in the top 15. She was having a pretty good showing thus far in this race. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Brian Gallagher announces that he is inevitable as he pulls to the inside, trying to make a run on Tom Wilson. He's going to get the run, and coming into the short chute, Tom Wilson is going to fall back to 2nd place. Brian Gallagher takes the lead, and he pulls away. Oh, that's some contact back there. But Brian Gallagher, look at the gap that he's already pulled for the lead. As taking a look at what happened, oh, looked like Elias just washed up into Tom Wilson. They hung on to it somehow, but Wilson's going to lose 2nd place to Ben Atkins there, as looks like Brian Gallagher's already got a 1.3 second lead, just 1 lap after he passed. So Gallagher, that is a lot of speed in that 49 car. As Kyle McWullough running 21st, he might actually be in contention for a full-time ride with Paloma Autosport next season. There's some rumors that Lenny Jacobs might be leaving this team to go run sports cars, and this might be an audition for McWullough in that car, as the 969 car and the 79 of Myatt and Cobb are getting ready to go a lap down, as Gallagher continues to extend his lead. That car is a rocket ship, as Ian Elias making a move on the inside of Ben Atkins. Elias has been fast all day. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to complete the pass there, but Ian Elias has always been good at these speedways and super speedways. He just quietly runs at the front of the field, and when you least expect it, he takes the lead and wins the race. But here he is running in 3rd place, having a strong showing. He's been up at the front of the field all day, running right behind Ben Atkins, as Sapphire Anderson kicks off green flag pit stops. Looks like we've got a few other takers back there. I think that's Dan Ferre. And, oh, here comes the leader. That's Brian Gallagher coming into the pits, and he's going to surrender the lead to Ben Atkins, who's got Ian Elias right behind him. As taking a look at Gallagher, he pulled an interesting pit strategy. They're only going to change the right side tires on that 49 Pokemon Black 2 car. and that's a very interesting gamble. Let's see if it's going to gain him anything. That's a bunch of cars coming into the pits this time by, and Ike Durbin, one of his main challengers on track, is actually going to change all 4 tires. Now that's going to cost him quite a bit of time on pit road, but I think we're not sure which tires are going to be most effective as far as changing 2 tires versus changing 4 tires, as Ben Atkins comes into the pits, and then James Hewitt's going to follow him the next lap after getting 1 lap led for that 155 car, as definitely Brian Gallagher led the field coming out of the pits, but we're going to have to see if this pit strategy is going to work, just changing 2 tires and those outside tires as well, as John Jefferson was running up in the top 10 before the pits. He is now down to 15th. That was an awful pit stop by the Steffens Racing crew. They really dropped the ball on John Jefferson's hopes of winning here today, as Ian Elias is half a second faster. Oh, he just got into Gareth Hunt. Gareth Hunt almost just went into the wall, as Ian Elias is not messing around. He's half a second faster than the leader. He knows it, and Ian Elias, that 2-tire gamble is going to bite Brian Gallagher, as 4 tires was definitely the way to go. Ian Elias is absolutely flying right now, as Preston Bell's having a good run too. The 2 Outback cars are nose to tail, separated by, okay, not quite separated, but there's Ike Durbin on the inside, but the Outback cars are running nose to tail. I think that's the first time this has happened all season, aside from the Super Speedways, and Preston Bell having a great run. He's up in the top 10, just doing a great job here today for Steffens Racing. They really need it. Daniel Sharp is getting ready to go a lap down. He's currently running in 34th place, and that's a few cars in front of him and the leader that are about to go a lap down. He gets stuck on the outside there, and Brian Gallagher is going to pass him with a little bit of difficulty. That 2-tire gamble really is not paying off. He is not having any drive off of the turns. He's having to slow way down. So Brian Gallagher, this pit call was not the best, but looks like he's going to try and battle back, Daniel Sharp is, and try and get his lap back. That just shows you how slow. They managed to get Brian Gallagher on the outside, and Daniel Sharp is going to unlap himself coming onto the front stretch here, or at least try to. I think that 49 car's got some better straight line speed, but yeah, it looks like 49's going to stay in front. But Daniel Sharp made a valiant effort to get back on the lead lap, and you can see how Ian Elias is starting to close the gap. Brian Gallagher's up in that pack of cars right in front of him, as looks like Tom Delgado's running alongside Barry Juveno, going to try and make a move around the outside on Ramsey Cockner. Cockner pushes up, and that's going to take both of them into the wall. Looks like 65 is going to go spinning, and that's the first caution coming out on lap 49, just about halfway through this one, as miscalculation by Tom Delgado. He went to the outside of a car that hasn't been handling well, and that just took both of them into the wall. Barry Juveno collected, and he's going to get some damage. Tough break for Juveno. He was having such a good run, especially with somebody whose seat is as red hot as his is, as Gallagher stayed out along with a bit of the field, and he's got a few lap cars between himself and the rest of the contenders at the front, and that is a very slow 51 car back there. He's going to gain a few seconds on the rest of the field, but look how slow that this 51 car is. He is way off the pace. There's something definitely wrong with that 51 car. He may have dropped a cylinder under caution, we're not sure, but that car is horrendously off the pace, as looks like Ian Elias managed to get through the lap traffic, and he's going to pull to the inside with ease and make a move coming into turn number 3. There goes Ian Elias to the front of the field, and Brian Gallagher is going to get passed there by Ike Durbin as well. Daniel Sharp thinking about making a move around him. Brian Gallagher's car is not handling at all. He really should have come into the pits and changed those left side tires, but Ian Elias has taken the lead, and Ike Durbin, the crowd is going to go crazy for this one, as Ike Durbin, the hometown hero, is going to take the lead coming onto the backstretch. And Ike Durbin, your championship leader, leads at Indianapolis. A fantastic showing from the 2-car here today, as here's Andy Lambert up in the top 10. Haven't talked about him all day, but he is doing a great job now too. He's up in 6th place, used some pit strategy to get up there. He's right behind Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer, and that's Alex Phillips, who's also up in 4th place. So he's doing a great job as well. All 3 of those cars doing fantastic, and this car almost went a lap down earlier on, but Greg Woodard has worked his way up to 23rd place after the restart. Had a good restart, managed to get around Cale Bernhardt Jr. on the inside and gained quite a few positions. So Greg Woodard's starting to turn the day around for a team that looks like it might be headed to relegation. He's going to make a move on Josh Marshall and take that position too. As Brian Gallagher continues to slide back, he's back to 8th place by lap 60. And looks like the free fall is going to continue for him. Daniel Sharp still hasn't gotten around him, but Cameron Taylor and John Jefferson look to be next. And he's going to need a caution here soon if he's going to stay in contention with this one. As haven't talked about Akio Gifu all day, but he's running pretty well. He's up in about 20th place. Oh, that's Clay Gibson turning him around. He's going to go up into the, that's a huge hit into the outside wall and the catch fence by the 466 car. He got hit by Louis Ballard going into turn number 3. Every driver involved, Ballard and Gifu, would be okay, but that was a very scary incident. You see there, Gibson washed up the track and ran into Gifu, and Ballard just had nowhere to go. That was a scary looking incident. Thankfully everyone would be okay, and it wasn't, they weren't going that fast. The momentum transferred fairly well, and on board with Joe Craig, see what he saw. And everyone's going to come into the pits. Ian Elias would drop out of the race due to a mechanical failure on that car, and Ike Durbin would win the battle off of the pits with Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer right behind him. Greg Woodard, tough break for him. He was running up in 18th place under the caution, and his engine lets go. Such a heartbreak for Woodard. Every time he has a good run, he leads the series in DNFs, by the way. Greg Woodard does. Just a tough break for him, as Ike Durbin leads on the restart in front of Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer. That's Alex Phillips back there. Looks like Ben Atkins and yeah, that's Brian Gallagher in 5th place, who was able to change all 4 tires, but looks like he's going to hang on. Ike Durbin is to the front of the field, and Brian Gallagher once again is showing the form that he showed in the first stint. Already gotten around Wheat Farmer and Phillips there, and he's going to make a move on Ben Atkins here, or at least try to. Atkins is going to throw the block, but coming off of the turn, looks like he might get on the inside there. Oh, this is a tough break. Sounds like 55 car John Jefferson. He has a tire going down, and he's going to have to pit from a very good position. Just heartbreaking for John Jefferson. He was having such a good run here today. And Brian Gallagher already back up to 2nd place. You get 4 fresh tires on those cars, and they are absolute, or on at least his 49 car, and he is an absolute missile. Going to start hunting down here. 18's going to push up the track, and 35 goes hard into the wall. Kelly Blackwater, with her best Gorbachev impression, tears down the outside wall coming out of turn number 2, and that involves Barry Juveno as well. Going to go on board with the 65. Yeah, it looks like Marshall just pushed, or dove it way too deep in that turn, and Blackwater just tank slaps the wall. Barry Juveno has nowhere to go, runs into the back of her, and that's going to do some additional damage to that 65 car that he absolutely did not need. Cameron Taylor, the super sub, running up in the top 5. He's in 5th place right now, having an excellent run. It's such a shame that Cameron Taylor got left out of the silly season discussion at the start of the year. Couldn't find a ride. Didn't want to go down to the Light Series. Felt he was a Cup Series driver. And could have seen runs like this all season as he tries to make a move on Ben Atkins. Sapphire Anderson running up in the top 15. Oh, that's a tough break. There goes the motor on the V car, and she's going to pull that car to the inside, and that's going to bring out the final caution of the day. Caution number 3 on lap 73, as she's going to stall on the inside of the racetrack. Clay Gibson lost his hood on pit road some time ago. Not sure when that happened. But Ike Durbin is going to be the only car to bring his car down pit road under this caution. Interesting gamble. I think no one just wanted to take it. after he pulled into the pits. That hands the lead to Brian Gallagher, and Alex Phillips is going to make a valiant effort to the inside. He's going to get alongside Brian Gallagher, but Gallagher has the momentum, and he's going to hold on to the lead. And that might be all she wrote for the rest of the field, as once Gallagher gets out front, he seems to be unstoppable. Looks like, oh, no, there goes Ben Atkins to the inside, and Gallagher is going to increase his lead over Ben Atkins and Alex Phillips back there, as Gallagher takes over the lead. But Cameron Taylor is having an absolutely fantastic showing. He is up to third place now. Ben Atkins right in front of him, and we might actually see Cameron Taylor win this thing if anything happens to Gallagher up front. The Griffith Motorsports cars have not had good reliability, as that's looks like that's the end of the day for Gaspar de Souza, as he's got a little bit of damage on that car. And unfortunate break for the driver who came in top 5 in points. He's going to fall a couple spots in the standings, I think, at this point, as Lewis Jones, talking about unfamiliar faces up in the top 10, Lewis Jones has worked his way up to 7th place. He qualified back in the mid-30s and has just used pit strategy and just has generally worked his way slowly up through the field, and now he's up in the top 7. This would be his second top 10 of the year. That team has struggled mightily. Dan Ferre has also struggled quite a bit. He's running in 13th place, and Dan Ferre leading the charge for Accelerator Motorsports as Greg Woodard blew up, and Kurt Pliskin has been nowhere all day, as Dan Ferre holding in front of, that's Joe Craig and Alina Lazareva. Frank Azaretto's up there as well, having a pretty good run, as that was a bad decision for Ike Durbin to pit, as he fell all the way back to 24th place. He got trapped behind some lapped cars, and it's going to be a tall order for him to claw his way back up through the field, but he's got a pretty fast car. He should be able to do it. Frank Azaretto is in 11th place, and he's looking at another top 10. He hasn't had too many of those this season, and this season has been a pretty much a disaster for this 36 team. Oh, that's some contact with McWalla, who he was battling for position with there. But Azaretto showing that he actually can run well when he's given the opportunity to, and Azaretto up in the top 10 doing an excellent job here today. Ben Atkins first, and now it looks like he might have a second place finish. What a string of 3 races for Ben Atkins, doing an excellent job here today, and he is definitely a bona fide championship contender coming into this final stretch of the season. Alex Phillips trying to gain on him, but that 5 car is too strong, as Gareth Hunt, remember what we said about him earlier on, predicting a cool 27th place, and a big wreck. Well, the big wreck happened, but he's running in 28th right now, so one more position, and he has achieved his goals that he outlined at the beginning of the race. But Gareth Hunt has kept his nose out of trouble, and that's more than you can say for a lot of people making their debuts in this series, as Barry Juveno is, what a trooper. He is still up in the top 20 with some front end and the rear end taken off of that car. Juveno putting forth everything that he can. Team told him that if he didn't get a good finish here today, his seat was toast. He's going to get dropped in favor of their 4th driver, Donnie Olson. And I think that lit a fire under Juveno, and he's performed well above expectations today. Same thing with Ben Worthington, who's up in the top 20 as well. Actually, both Lucas Motorsports cars that are still left in this race are up in the top 20. Worthington and Craig back there. Oh, that might be a little bit of contact, but they're going to keep it straight. And this team has clawed their way out of relegation and is actually in a pretty good spot to stay in the Cup Series next season. So that's very good news for both of the 6 and the 26. As Alina Lazareva, she fell a lap down earlier on in this race, worked her way back onto the lead lap, and she's up in the top 10. Looks like she managed to catch up to the back of this group here with Lewis Jones, Tom Wilson, and Barbara Burt. And Alina Lazareva showing that all the Griffith Motorsports cars are rocket ships here today. Pulls on the inside of Lewis Jones, and she's going to take over that position, as looks like Brian Gallagher's absolutely just running away with this one. No one's going to be able to catch him unless he breaks down, and I don't see that happening here. Alina Lazareva making a move on the inside of Ben Atkins. She shot through this field like a rocket, and she's going to take over second place. So right now it's Griffith Motorsports 1, 2, 4 with Ben Atkins in third place separating them. Tom Wilson back there in fifth place, and it looks like to be one of the best showings we've seen from a team all season. As coming through the final turn, Clay Gibson pulls to the inside, but Brian Gallagher is going to take the win here in a dominating performance at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Taking a look at the results, Alina Lazareva and Cameron Taylor finished second and fourth, making it a 1-2-4 for Griffith Motorsports, only split by Ben Atkins, who in his last 3 races has run first, and third. Such an impressive performance from Atkins and his whole team. As Alex Phillips and Tom Wilson 5th and 6th for Johnson Racing. Lewis Jones, P7, second top 10 of the year for him. And Australian Motorsports gets a great top 10 showing here today. Barbara Burt, P8, Mark Burt, P9, both for Double B Motorsports. Good runs for them in this time of uncertainty for that team, as Frank Azaretto finishes in P10. One of his few top 10 showings so far this year. James Hewitt, P11, keeps himself in championship contention with that run. Andy Lambert, P12, solid run for him. Ben Worthington finishes in 13th, good run for him. Didn't expect to see that out of him today. Kyle McWella, P14, kind of ran all over the place today. Was 20s earlier on, ran up in the top 10, fell back to 14th, and that's where he finished. H.J. Wheatfarmer leads the way for Clayson Enterprises, and Dan Ferre, Accelerator Motorsports, they need all the points they can get, and this is a good run for them. Joe Craig, P17, good run for him. Ike Durbin clawed his way up to 18th after pitting on that final caution. That's all he could manage. Barry Juveno, P19, with all that damage. Such an excellent effort from that 65 crew to get him up there, and Tom Delgado rounds out the top 20 after being involved in the first caution. Now, taking a look at the point standings, top 4 remains unchanged, but Ben Atkins has cut Ike Durbin's lead by 15, down to just 21 points now. Brian Gallagher moves up from 9th to 5th in the standings, jumping over Gaspar de Souza, who's fallen from 5th to 6th. Louis Ballard has fallen from 6th to 7th, Sapphire Anderson 7th to 8th, and Mark Burt jumps back up into the top 10 after a good performance today. Ian Elias led early on, but a tough finish for him. Mechanical failures ruined his day. He falls down to 10th in the standings. Tom Wilson has had a resurgence lately. He's up to 11th. Josh Marshall, P12, having a strong season. Barbara Burt, amidst the uncertainty surrounding that team, runs P13 in the standings. Nicholas Cordovos did not run this race. He is P14, however. Alina Lazareva, P15, having a strong season. She jumped up from 19th to 15th. Andy Lambert, P16, having a pretty good year for himself. Hank Jr. Wheatfarmer has stopped the bleeding and sits 17th in the standings. Duncan Cobb falls from P14 to P18 after a miserable run. Ramsey Cockiner did almost nothing all day and fell just one position, down from 18th to 19th. And Alex Phillips jumps from 23rd up to 20th in the standings after a good run here today. Finally, taking a look at the team standings, the only teams that have swapped positions were ROG Motorsports and Nicecock Racing, who were 8th and 10th in the last round. Nicecock Racing 8th and ROG Motorsports 10th. They have swapped positions. With the announcement of 15 teams running the PCC Cup Series next season, and only the bottom 2 teams being relegated this year, Clayson Enterprises has been granted a reprieve from relegation by this announcement. However, they still have quite a bit to go to make sure that they'll be safe for next season. Accelerator Motorsports and Steffens Racing, the bottom 2 teams, will be relegated, and they are currently the only 2 teams without 1,000 points across all 3 of their teams.